I'm filming this the same day as the day I'm filming Welcome to Augie Land. I just took a break to go have lunch and to feed this guy. And by some miracle, he's still sleeping. I don't really know how he's still sleeping, but that's okay. So I'm going to give you all an update, a neuro-chat with Sarah. So if you watched my last Feliks update, or like my neuro-chats update, I was talking about how we were waiting for our meeting with the team with regards to Feliks's impending surgery. We had the meeting just under a month ago. So it is March 25th, and we had the meeting on March the 2nd. So we had about 5 weeks in between finding out we were having the meeting and when we actually had the meeting. So a lot of time to write down questions and think about it and fixate on it, which is what I do. So it was scary. But we went for this meeting, and it was me, Peter, Augie, obviously he has to come with, Feliks, our neurologist, the neurology fellow, our social worker, who is a godsend. I think someone from research stopped by, and then the surgeon. So we met with the pediatric epilepsy surgeon. She was lovely. And we talked about the options. So in my previous video where I discussed this, initially Peter and I thought it was either surgery or no surgery. And then we read the update from their presentation to the neurosurgery rounds. And it turns out that there were 2 different surgical routes we could take. So now instead of it being yes or no to surgery, it's yes surgery A or B. And because I am not a neurosurgeon or brain savvy, I kind of thought the 2 surgical options were like mutually exclusive. Like you either do this one or you do this one. In having this big discussion with the team, we came to the understanding that no, it's either you do A or B, which includes A. So sort of like when you upgrade. Like you get everything that comes with part A, but then you also get blah, 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 blah. So we could either do this less invasive option, or we could do the more invasive option, which includes the less invasive option. So my understanding is that the less invasive option is the corpus callosotomy, which is what I was thinking we were going to avoid previously, before we had this discussion. So the corpus callosotomy splits the left brain off from the right brain, but both sides of the brain are still connected to the body. The subtotal hemispherotomy splits the left brain from the right brain, i.e. initially they do a corpus callosotomy, and then it also splits the bad brain, the bad side of the brain, off from the body. So it's its own little thing. It's not attached to, or it's not connecting to anything. So in Feliks's case, that's the left side. So they would end up leaving what they could connected to the body, and they would try and take good margins to disconnect the bad area from any part of the left brain that was good, and leave the good parts connected to the body, but disconnect the bad parts from the body and from the right side of the brain, which is a significantly more intensive procedure, and comes with a lot more, not complications, but difficulties afterwards. So you end up initially with one-sided paralysis. So on the contralateral side. So in Feliks, it would be the right side of his body would be paralyzed, and you would work with physio and OT and stuff to get that back, but you would never regain full dexterity. So fine motor skills would never be there on the right side of his body, just because of that type of surgery, and other difficulties. So they were take your time, discuss it amongst yourselves, and let us know what surgery option you would like to take. And so Peter and I were like, okay, like we'll talk about it, but basically you're telling us that it would be better to start with the least invasive option because that is the best chance for getting rid of his atonic seizures, so the drop attacks, which are the more dangerous ones. It's the ones that he wears the helmet for, and the ones that could do more damage to him if he didn't have the helmet on. And even with the helmet, like if he falls, he could break something depending on what he's falling off of. Or even if he's just falling from standing. So we were like, okay, we'll discuss it, but we're pretty sure we know what we're going to do. So we discussed it the whole drive home. We discussed it once we got home. That evening after dinner, I emailed our social worker to say, hey, we've come to a decision. Please let the team know, as that's what we were directed to do. So we have decided to go with a complete corpus callosotomy. So they are going to completely separate the wonky left side of his brain, so the left hemisphere, from the right hemisphere. There will be some difficulties in the future for him. So even if he didn't have his level 3 autism and whatever else, the epileptic encephalopathy, even if he didn't have any of those things, when you do a corpus callosotomy, there are some difficulties that come along with the sides of the brain not talking to each other, because especially like with visual stuff. So you have two visual fields. It's not like your left eye is connected to your right brain, your right eye to your left brain, like they cross over. It's that you have a left visual field, which is both eyes, left side, and the right visual field, which is both eyes, right side. And your left visual field is connected to the right side of your brain. Your right visual field is connected to the left side of your brain, if I'm understanding that correctly. When you separate those two, your visual fields don't match up, and your left hand is connected to your right brain. Your right hand is connected to your left brain. So there's certain parts of your brain take care of different things. So like there's language centers and stuff like that. So he's going to have a lot of trouble with reading or with learning how to read. But that being said, he already has a million other things where it's like, that's the least of my problems. I would like to be able to communicate with him. If he can't read, or if it takes him like 10 years, until he's 10 years old to be able to read, do you want to know? We'll deal with it. But if he can at least learn to communicate, even if it's by using a device, that is going to be the most epic win in the history of epic wins. So we had their meeting. We let them know what the plan was, and we were told that someone from the team would let us know when the surgery was. But that at the meeting they said probably we're looking at April. Keeping in mind today that I'm filming this is the 25th of March. So they said it'll probably be mid-April, but it could possibly be early April. So we don't hear anything, we don't hear anything, we don't hear anything. Last week or early this week, so today's Friday, so it could have been like last Friday or this Monday, Peter got in touch, like he emailed the social worker. Yes, he emailed the social worker to say like, can we have a phone call or a meeting or something, blah, blah, blah. Because we haven't heard anything. And she emailed back and she was like, hey, so no one's heard anything. We're all very frustrated, but like normally they've been getting their OR times in 2-week blocks. So you'd know 2 weeks out when the epilepsy team would have OR time. And it's now less than 2 weeks till April. And we've heard nothing and they've heard nothing. So yes, everyone's frustrated, blah, blah, blah. So on Tuesday of this week, so just a few days ago, Peter was driving into the hospital to go pick up medication for Feliks and also to drop off Kasper's blood work. So Monday night we did blood work for Kasper. It was awful. It always is. No one likes blood work. But when you have to poke your kid and do blood work, like it sucks. But do you want to know what? We've done it for years now. It is what it is. We muscle through it. Once it's done, he's fine. Like, it's just that initial poke where he's like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. And we're like, we got to do it. We do it. We move on with our lives. So Peter is taking the blood work in. He called up our social worker to say, hey, can we chat, like, to figure out what's going on? She got back to him and was like, I could probably call you at, like, such and such a time. He was like, oh, well, funny you say that time. I'm going to be at the hospital. Like, I'm picking up meds and dropping off whatever. And also, I asked him to drop off a sympathy card for his coworker who's Feliks's godmother and my bestie. Like, she's going through some stuff with family. So I was like, just give her this card and maybe like put a Timmy's gift card in it or something. So he was going to be at the hospital. So he managed to have a meeting in person with our social worker. And she gave him like the download. Like it's either going to be early April or early May, nothing in between, because the mid-month they saved for the 2-part surgeries. Feliks isn't having a 2-part surgery, so it's either early April or early May. Blah, 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 blah. So it was like, okay, we should hear from someone hopefully soon. So that was Tuesday. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Wednesday. So literally the next day, we were, like, the boy, Kasper's at school, Feliks is at daycare. We were downstairs. So I was sewing? I think I was sewing. I don't remember. We were in the basement. Peter was bringing Augie upstairs to change him, and my phone rang. So I answer, and it's the hospital. I answer, and it's the neurosurgeon's admin assistant. So I was like, hold on, let me get upstairs, like, so that, like, Peter's with me. And I was like, okay, hit me with it. Like, what's happening? What's the date? Because she's like, we have an OR date. April 4th. Stomach drops, heart is pounding, panic. But also, this is good because it means we're not waiting till May. But also on the day she's telling me, I counted it, I'm like, that's in 12 days. My kid is going in for brain surgery in 12 days. So, tell Peter, I write down everything. Peter's like bouncing the baby so he's not screaming so I can hear what she's saying and writing out questions for me to ask. And she's like, okay, a nurse is going to call you in a couple days. If you don't hear from her by this day, call me back, whatever. She'll go over everything. So yesterday, so literally the next day, the nurse calls to go over all the details. Of course, Peter's out picking up this guy's medication and a couple baby gates because we need one at the top of the stairs here. So I'm like trying to bounce the baby and like write down what she's saying, and Feliks is sleeping on the couch. And yeah, so Feliks is going in on the day I'm filming this, on Friday, March 25th, in 10 days. Feliks is going in for a complete corpus callosotomy. We have to be at the hospital super ridiculously early in the morning. His surgery is scheduled for 8 in the morning. Only one parent can go with him up to the OR, like to the point where like they wheel him in. So the difficulty with that is obviously we have Augie, Kasper has school, we have to be at the hospital like early. So who's gonna get Kasper to school? But also I'm not going by myself. I'm not going. Like, it's a whole thing. So of course, after I get off the phone with when we got the surgery date, not even, so like on Tuesday, I immediately messaged my mom to say, like, we have the OR date. I'm letting everyone know. Like, I let my sister know. I let my mom know. I let Auntie Kendra know. So Peter's coworker, who's Feliks' godmom, also because she's like my best friend. So I was like, I let her know. I let my other best friend know. Like, everyone who needed to know. And then when Peter went to pick Feliks up from daycare, he let our lovely daycare lady know, like, this is what's happening. We finally have a date. We're sorry it's not 2 weeks notice, but like, we literally just found out like 3 hours ago. We wanted to tell you in person, kind of thing. So everyone that needs to know knows. My mom immediately, bless her soul, is like, your dad and I will be there on Sunday evening. We can stay until Tuesday. Yeah, we can stay until Tuesday, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. So that I don't have to, like, on the Monday when he goes for surgery, I don't have to worry about Kasper. My parents will get him, like, ready for school, and we'll make sure his lunch is packed and everything. So it'll just be like, get him ready for school, brush his teeth, and get him to the bus. And then someone can pick him up from the bus at 3 so that I don't have to rush home, because we don't even know if he's going to be out of surgery at 3 o'clock. Like, I'm pretty sure they say it's a 4 to 6 hour surgery, but that would give us till like 2-ish in the afternoon. I would have to leave right at 2 to get home to pick Kasper up from the bus at 3. So my parents are going to take care of that. And then afterwards, my mom, she thought she had an appointment on a Wednesday, but it's actually on Tuesday. So she's canceled that appointment. They're going to stay till Wednesday now. So that'll give me extra time that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I can spend a little bit longer at the hospital and not have to rush home to get Kasper off of the bus, which will be good for Peter, that he'll have an extra set of hands there. and also he'll be able to see Augie. But then also because then I'll be able to see Feliks and make sure he's okay, right? Like, just all those things. Like, obviously, everything's going to be fine. I feel it in my heart of hearts that everything's going to be fine. It's going to go well, but I have to be there. So Peter and I have discussed it. Probably we'll try and get there earlier than we need to so that I can nurse Augie and we can do some bum changes. And then Peter will take Augie to the atrium or like whatever, to the Tim Hortons at the hospital. Maybe go stop by his office because that's where he works. And I will be the one to stay with Feliks until he goes in for surgery, because I can't not be there, but also we both can't be there. It's like a thing, but I have to be with him until the last possible moment, until he goes in. So that's going to be really hard. And I'm going to do my best to document everything. It's going to be the longest, most boring, and most intense day at the hospital, says our social worker, because then once he's in, we just have to wait. We just have to wait until he comes out. So he's going to go in for surgery. When he comes out, he'll go straight to the pediatric critical care unit, at which point then 2 parents are like allowed at bedside. So that's good. And then recovery. So we know he's going to be in the hospital for like 7 to 10 days. We will have to assess how he's doing at that point. We can't anticipate how he'll be doing, especially too because he doesn't talk. He doesn't really communicate in any way other than like crying and excited giggles and stuff like that. And sometimes when he gets really pumped, he sounds like a droid and he oscillates, like he bounces and he stims and stuff like that. So we don't really know what to anticipate from that standpoint. But our social worker did say that very recently they had a kiddo that had surgery. Within a couple days was awake and talking about like Dora the Explorer, and within a week was back at school. So we don't think it's going to be, and she's like, not that I'm pushing that he needs to like be back at daycare like the next week. We don't think it's going to go that well. He'll still be in the hospital at a week. And then we need to kind of see where he's at. And there's going to be follow-up appointments and everything to take care of. But it's now 10 days from when I'm filming this, that my baby, not my baby, but like my baby, is gonna go have his brain split in half. What? Like, he's 2.5 years old. Did I think when he was born 2.5 years ago that this is what his life would be like? No. Even at like just before he turned 1, because everything was going so well. And right, he was growing well. He was, babbling. He wasn't really maybe babbling as much as Kasper's at that point. But like, I still had no idea that it was going to be like this. But you want to know what? He's still perfect. It doesn't matter what we label him as. Like, I've had people, not like in person. It's always online. It's always trolls online. Because with all of his diagnoses and stuff, I've started to follow more individuals that have children with autism or seizures or stuff like that, because I'm out of my depth, right? Like, Kasper is at the complete other end of the spectrum. He's eloquent and intelligent and just blows my mind with the things he comes up with and how just everything about him is just beyond, right? And I'm not saying that I think Feliks is not intelligent. He's in there. Feliks is in there, and he is a clever boy. It's just he doesn't communicate in the way that other people do. He doesn't desire to communicate in the way that other people do. And from my perspective, that is really hard because I like to communicate verbally. Feliks does not. He communicates in grunts and squeals and sometimes giggles and a lot of crying. He's been a lot better, though, lately. Also, I got this new water bottle my sister recommended. Fantastic. Also, sir, how are you still sleeping? So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Feliks. But what I was going to say is that, like, it doesn't matter what we label him as, because he's still perfect. He's still my perfect little boom. But I've definitely had a couple people, if I like comment a positive comment, like on someone like traveling with their autistic kiddo and blah blah blah. I comment like, you know, as like a mom of a 2.5-year-old who's got drug-resistant epilepsy and who's severely, and then like I put in brackets level 3 because I don't think they use the term like severe anymore. It's all in levels. It's like severely autistic or like a level 3 autistic kiddo, like blah 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 blah. And I have so many people say like, you shouldn't label your kid as severe or like level 3. Like you really need to talk to other people on the spectrum and like understand their perspective. I guess like that is negative that I'm saying like severely autistic. I'm like, my kid is severely autistic. Doesn't mean he's not awesome, right? It doesn't mean he's not my perfect kid. This is the way he was supposed to be. This is the way he was made. I would not change that, right? He is the way he is supposed to be. You can't be like a glass is half full for only the great things that happen, or like that everything happens for a reason, but only to the good things in life. His life is going to be really hard. Obviously, I would not wish that on anyone or anyone's kiddo or any of my own children. I'm sad for him that his life is going to be more difficult than his older brother, and yet to be determined, but presumably from his younger brother. He's going to have it hard. Things are going to be more difficult for him to do. Tasks are going to be more difficult for him. But that doesn't mean he's not awesome. That doesn't mean he's not my perfect little boy, right? Like, he's still my awesome dude, and I love him to bits and pieces, and I would not change anything about him. I just, for his sake, wish that things wouldn't be so hard for him going forward. And that I wish they hadn't have been so hard for him for the last 1.5 years of his life, right? Like, no one wants their kid to have to suffer through uncontrolled seizures constantly and having to wear this massive bulky helmet, especially in the summertime when it's hot, right? Like, there's so many things you wish differently for your kiddo from a difficulty perspective. I don't know if I'm getting that across right? But like, it bothers me immensely when people behind their computers, behind their keyboards, behind their phones, who don't have to say it to you in person, are like basically scolding you and telling you you're essentially a bad parent because you're labeling your kid as severe. As a person who was born with severe heart defects, doesn't mean I'm not awesome. Like, I still think I'm a pretty fabulous person. But I was born with a severe defect. That is the way I was supposed to be made. Everything happens for a reason. Thankfully, luckily, if you can consider yourself lucky when you've been through what I've been through, 100% people have had it worse. First person to say that. But like, doesn't change the fact that I was born with a severe defect. You can't call it anything but what it is. Doesn't mean that you're not amazing. I'm pretty amazing. I'm gonna toot my own horn. But like, Kasper has a metabolic genetic defect. Doesn't mean he's defective. He just has this thing that he got from Peter and I, which we didn't know we were carriers, because if you're a carrier, you don't present with it. We had no idea. And then Kasper flagged on his screening. He has to take medication so that he's allowed to live the life he wants to live and eat what he wants to eat at this stage in the game. Does it mean my kid is less than? No. Clearly, look at him. He's like ahead of the game. He's not even 5 years old and he can read. Not like consistently, but like he sounds words out almost spot on every time. He can figure out his books and stuff like that. He is a super smart, awesome kiddo that just happens to have a genetic defect. Feliks is an awesome, clever, super snuggly, super lovey-dovey kiddo who just happens to be epileptic and severely autistic. I genuinely don't understand what the big deal is about saying that. So I think people need to just like think about how they would deal with someone in person, right? Like, I think like everybody needs to just like chill out a little bit, because I am the first person to say that my kids are amazing. I think every mother, every parent would say that about their children, even if there's something different about them. Different is not bad, it's just different. Severe is not bad, right? Like, yeah, in the proper description or the proper definition of the word, severe usually means bad. But like, you can have a, like, don't they use it in like novels sometimes, like a severe angled jaw? Doesn't mean it's bad, it just means you got an awesome jawline. So it's a descriptor, right? I don't know. I'm rambling, but I got really upset. And Peter's like, you know, it's stupid people online. Don't worry about it. Let it go. And I'm like, no, I'm not really that upset. But it does, on some level, irk me that Joe Blow, who has no idea who I am and what I'm dealing with, thinks that I need to change how I describe my child to people who will never meet my child. Like, it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. Wherever you go, there you are. So I don't know. Maybe we'll end it here. And maybe we'll go do some tummy time. And maybe that will wake you up. We have 10 more days before surgery day. And we are going to take him and his brothers on a surprise treat adventure tomorrow, which I will be doing my best to film. I might be filming it all on my phone, just because I'll be carrying Augie in the carrier. Hi, turn around. I'll be carrying this little smooshy guy in the carrier. Hi. Wakey wakey, eggs and bakey. So it's harder to carry my big camera and bounce him around in the carrier. So I might just use my phone and film from my phone. I think it's pretty good quality. It's an iPhone 12. It does 4K. And we'll film our big adventure. We're taking them someplace we think Feliks would really, really enjoy. Obviously, he can't tell us with words, so we're anticipating his things that he'll like based on what we know about him. Right? Right? You're probably just going to snooze because you'll be in the carrier the whole time. But I'm going to end it here, and then I will do my best to film and update everybody on how things progress with his surgery. And maybe somewhere in there, because when I'm stressed, I stress clean. It's okay. Maybe somewhere in there I will end up doing some spring cleaning, and I'll film it. I did get for Christmas one of those little steam shot things, like the Bissell steam shot, and then I just picked it up. It was delivered. It was from Amazon. The Bissell spot cleaner, like the carpet spot cleaner with like the hose. And I got some carpet spots to clean in the basement and on the stairs, and I want to use it for my valance covers in the kitchen and family room. So perhaps I'll get around to filming that. I might even film some meal prep leading up to his surgery so that when I come home, I don't have to think about dinner. It's just like already in the crock pot cooking or what have you, because I still have to feed Kasper and myself. I mean, and you, but you don't eat food yet. So that's where we're at. Stay tuned. Keep it together. I'm saying that more for me than for you, but I hope you stay with us on this journey because it's going to be insane. And maybe if there's anyone else that's, you know, your poor kiddo's going in for surgery, I'm with you, and we will get through it. And again, I'm saying that for me because, like, right? Let's go. We're going to go. It's future Sarah here. It is past April the 4th. Feliks has not had surgery. Feliks was supposed to have surgery. Feliks has not had surgery. So after all of that emotional roller coaster, we got a call from the hospital. The surgeon got COVID. So now Feliks' surgery has been pushed to May the 2nd. So all of the same stuff stands. I will still try to do all of the things I said I was going to do. But I know that my dad has made some shepherd's pies, and my mom and dad have vacuum sealed them, and they are in the freezer waiting for pickup. So, you know, at least that's good for me. I don't know if Kasper will eat it, but whatever. I'm still going to try and do some meal prep in anticipation of that. And so positive things, it does not impact Kasper's birthday anymore because he's turning 5 on the 23rd. So the surgery is after that, which is lovely. And I have more time to prepare, which is good and bad because it also means I have more time to think about it. And don't like that part. But yeah, so things have been rough. Felix is still teething. We are still waiting on the last 2 molars. This is why I look like how I look today, because I'm losing my mind. But big shout out to that guy right there. And the little bean that he's holding, because I could not do this without him. Officially, this is now the end of this video. Send strength.